One of the things that we know about moments of crisis is that it hits high-need communities disproportionately. When COVID hit, we already understood that there was a lot of inequities within the education system, and that was going to be exacerbated.
Throughout the state of California, 6+ million kids are not physically in the classroom.
That only works if every child has access.
Just because there's virtual school doesn't mean there's virtual learning. It's not happening.
Historically, there's been a two-tier system of education in California. Kids of color and kids from low-income families have historically not had the same educational opportunities that their more affluent peers had.
Families just weren't equipped to go into online learning. So we started calling our families. One of the first questions that we asked were, do you have access to a computer or a hotspot or internet?
The estimates are that between 800,000 and 1 million kids, all of whom were low-income families, children of color, were without digital access, which meant that they got no education.
It has been established that the state owes its students a fundamentally equal education. When we saw the state's failure to step in and address these problems in a serious, systematic way, we had to do something.
Public Counsel has a national reputation for the educational equity work that we do. And we reached out to our lawyer partners, the law firm of Morrison and Foerster, to get troops and to get vision in order to address the pandemic.
Initially, we thought of the case as a digital divide lawsuit. What does it take to get kids access to a screen, a fast connection, and technology that works?
The Kayla J case became the first case in the country to address the impact of the pandemic on those students who were on the wrong side of the digital divide. The plaintiffs were students that we were largely introduced to by the community groups, Community Coalition here in Los Angeles and the Oakland Reach in Oakland.
When the pandemic shut everything down, I believe we was the first organization in the city, probably one of the first in the country, to distribute widespread technology. So we built like a virtual school, essentially. That was really key for the lawsuit.
Our family felt like, one, taking on the lawsuit was the right thing to do, but two, that there was an opportunity to also change the way that their children will experience education on an everyday basis.
They were addressing the gaps. So when we needed to know, what does it take? We could call up Lakeisha Young at the Oakland Reach and she could say, it takes the following. It's not just computers. You have to have a help desk. That was also invaluable.
Our organization was both the face of the folks who would suffer the most from a lack of a state response, but it was also a way to say and replicate this.
We filed this case in late 2020, and the hope was that it would be the shortest litigation on record. That's not what happened.
The legal system is slow in the best of circumstances. By the time we were talking about going to trial, the pandemic was over. And so now we're back to how do we make the basic education system work for all kids?
Parents, teachers, kids, and community groups sued California and won a settlement. The state just agreed to spend $2 billion on tutors, extended school days, mental health support, and more.
The urgent vision of this settlement was not just to erase the learning losses that students suffered, but to erase once and for all the opportunity gaps that the pandemic exacerbated.
This sets a tone and it sends the message that systems do have to be accountable to our families. We do have a responsibility to make sure that we are serving every student.
This was a historic settlement that brought about the largest set of resources and material changes really in the history of the country.